the amount of sugar that we're consuming as a population worldwide, and particularly in the UK, in the US, and in tier one countries, it's so harmful that every single health agency in the world and every public health body in the world is knowing that this is almost like an emergency that we need to address. Hi and welcome to Sweet Liberation, and we are delighted to be with you again. It's been what a few weeks we've had. It's been incredible. We've had some fantastic guests and fantastic contributions, and it's just opening up the can of worms that is modern health, wellness, nutrition. I mean, what's been the highlights for you?
Well, for me, learning all of the different things from the different people that have come on to the podcast, I feel very, very blessed that we've had some fantastic speakers, and the information and everything they've imparted from their knowledge has just been absolutely incredible. I never knew that the journey that we've been on is it actually is complex.
I know, it's so complex because one thing opens another thing, and it's just such a can of worms. But I think one of the things that we keep getting sort of questions, I get this question a lot, and I think we wanted to talk about this today, is how we manage to stay sugar-free or predominantly sugar-free for such a long time. So many people talk to me about that, and they say, well, first of all, they say, how do you have so much energy? That's one of the questions I get a lot. I don't know about you. And the other thing is, I can't sustain this long term. So I wanted to talk about that because I think that's a big problem, isn't it, Luke?
Yes, it is, yeah. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that I personally feel as if I go on this journey that I'm been getting younger.
I think so.
That's how I feel. So it's a feeling, and also, that's been one of the things. So the energy is certainly fed into that, and having more energy, you just feel like a younger, sort of like getting a new puppy, isn't it? When you've got an old arthritic one, but yeah.
Well, my mum said this in Spanish. I don't know if you got that in, but they say, yeah, she said, oh, you're like a dog with two tails.
You do have that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that it's like it's the sort of feeling, a vibe of having more energy. But I think I'm going to talk about the sustainability of this, because a lot of people struggle. There's just a massive diet industry out there, isn't there? And it's just one of my pet hates in the world is this kind of yo-yo diet culture that people are in, where they overindulge, then this goes on for years, or they are soothing their emotional pain with food, and I don't blame anybody for that, because people are stressed out, aren't they?
Yeah, and everybody's got, and I don't know what it is about today. I mean, if it's any different to any other time in the last sort of few decades, but people do seem to be carrying a lot more stress around these days.
I think so. We're a lot more knowledgeable about wellness and mental health, and even the term wellness, well-being. All of these things are now sort of mainstream terms that are used by mainstream healthcare professionals, like doctors, for instance, GPs, are now looking at sort of lifestyle medicine as a whole, and understanding the importance of wellness and well-being in that lifestyle to be able to help somebody from the cradle to the grave. So so how do we? I mean, let's talk. I'm going to ask you: how do you feel that you have made changes over the last few years that are going to be lifelong changes? What do you think's happened to you? What's the shift?
What's been the shift? Well, one of the first things that I found is that it actually has been quite easy. The first step is actually, as a bit of a cliche, is always the hardest step. But what happens is it's a bit of a snowballing effect, because as you start feeling better and you're feeling good about the early wins with the reduction or almost a complete removal of sugar, that then starts snowballing, and then you start doing more, and then that becomes more and more and more. So it's a bit of a, as we say in cycling, the aggregation of marginal gains. It's a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, and then all those little bits add up to quite a lot. So for me, that's the cycling analogy that
is particularly kind of appropriate.
Right.
Yeah, no, I remember that being said around in 2012 with the Olympics. That was very much, and it's, so first of all, it's from the mindset point of view, that overwhelm is the worst thing to get over, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and tackling that and thinking, yeah, I think that first step, and if we can, and looking at that first step and assisting with that is, I think, something that's really important.
It's so important. And I mean, in my career, helping families for the last couple of decades, one of the things I realized that we needed much more, and I think that's the focus of what we're doing in this podcast, is giving people support. When people feel supported, nurtured, not judged, understood, just creating that rapport with people, that you're on the same page as them, that we could sit on the same side of the table together and look at the problem collaboratively, that approach in itself is the key to getting them to take action in a way that they've never done before. They might have received the same information before, but without the support, information on its own is useless.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah, and I also think as well that there's this thing that we've touched on before, and that is this putting the blame onto the end user, if you want to call them that, but the people that are consuming the products. It's their fault that they've done that because they've got no willpower. And that's something, And as I mentioned, when I was quickly nipped into the supermarket, we had that brief summer period of a week in the UK a couple of weeks ago. And I thought to myself, wow, let's get out, let's try and do a barbecue. And then the first thing as I went into the supermarket, I wanted to pick up these like lamb koftas. They're actually on a stick. They look perfect for the barbecue, but I did my pack, fiddle it, and I was like, they decided that the best thing to do is add sugar to a meat product. So they're rendering it, anybody that's trying to avoid sugar or on a keto diet, then the supermarkets aren't helping. I don't know why. I don't get that, because it's certainly not the consumer's fault, because that was hidden sugar. That was sneaky.
Who on earth would want to put I
mean, there are other products that I think are healthy snacks. Sometimes I picked up cashew nuts and I wanted to buy some cashew nuts, thinking that's a little healthy, low GI snack. I don't know an awful lot about these things, but certainly I don't want to flip the pack and find sugar.
No, I'm infuriated by that. I just think, who on earth thinks it's a good idea to put sugar on meat?
Yes.
I'm
nuts.
Nuts. Okay, so if you're not a meat eater, you'll be like, well, we should be eating meat anyway. So for the people that don't eat meat, why on earth would you put sugar on nuts?
Yes.
That are supposed to be salted. I mean, not sweet. And if you were buying sweet covered chocolate peanuts, you'd expect there to be sugar, right? So you go, I'm reducing sugar, so I don't want to eat those because they've got sugar. But the sneaky ones is like savory nuts with sugar in them.
And I think it's more and more things like that as well. Things that you actually say, oh, these are good sort of things that are like guacamole or olives, anything like that. That's hummus. Why are we sneaking the sugar in? Because it wasn't in there a few years ago. It's a new thing. So,
which I'm sorry, but of all the people that are listening, there are people listening to this from across the world. We've got listeners and viewers from everywhere. So big shout out to our audience that's growing. But if you're listening to this from, let me just name a few countries that are famous for their hummus. Egypt, if you're listening from Egypt, if you're listening from Lebanon, anywhere, if you're listening from Greece or Turkey, who in their right mind in those countries put sugar in their hummus, please? Hands up, any person across the Mediterranean. They are going to throw the hummus at the window. There's going to be a hummus riot. What on earth were they thinking? The other one was mayonnaise with their garlic mayo.
Oh, right, yes.
You found sugar in
garlic mayo.
I know, what's the name of garlic mayo? Are they thinking putting sugar? But it's the stickiness of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And it doesn't have any, you have to packet flip. And and that is the thing. Are they being disingenuous? I mean, are they hoping? Is that what the marketing is all about? They're hoping that we don't look at the back of the packet.
I think what it is we know the food industry is very aware of this sweet spot, this kind of perfect combination of salt and sugar that addicts people to the food. And because of that, And, they basically do know that that is going to keep us full.
And
It'll be in there because it makes you go back for more.
That's what it's got to do. It's got to be that the people manufacturing the products are saying we can get people to keep buying our product if we add the bad stuff.
And
if we add the sugar, because then they're going to be back buying it again because they loved it last time.
I know. And I tell you what, babe, I was listening to a very he's getting quite well reputation influencer that talks. This sort of debunks a lot of things that are out there and put out there on social media. A lot of things I want to clarify about how we work is that we are not saying that, if you have a little bit of sugar every now and then, that's going to harm people forever. No. We're not saying that. It's not cyanide. Okay, so let's just get that straight. But what we're saying is the amount of sugar that we're consuming as a population worldwide, and particularly in the UK, in the US, and in tier 1 countries, it's so harmful that every single health agency in the world and every public health body in the world is knowing that this is almost like an emergency that we need to address. So we're not saying, 8 teaspoons every now and then, when you're having a sugar-free lifestyle, it's predominantly sugar-free. Occasionally, you may have something, but because it's going to happen so very infrequently, the impact is not the aggregated getting the other way around, aggregated loss.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And it's the impact of having those high processed, high sugar, high fat, and of the kind of white, processed, highly processed carbohydrates that are basic bulking agents in the foods. What we're saying is a diet that isn't a whole food diet as your main diet. That is the problem. And that is then when it's packed with high amounts of sugar because it's highly processed, because the manufacturers put it in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Over a period of time, that is where you get the lifetime effects of these things.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying. And the exciting thing about it is how when you start to intervene and make some really simple interventions to your lifestyle, the impact that can have. That's the exciting thing.
It is, yes. Well, the thing I found as well, and I don't know if our listeners have this as a problem, but I went to a restaurant, actually it was for your birthday, and actually they had managed to cram sugar into every dish. There was a chili jam on one thing. There was kebabs and things, and there was a sugary sauce on another. It was just right. And in the end, in order to avoid the sugar, I had to say, look, can you leave that on the side? But it was quite incredible. I didn't want it glazed. I didn't want a sugar glaze over my meat.
I don't even know. No, I don't know if this triggers anybody else, but I actually really don't like. I'm not a big fan of savoury plus sweet things. Like, I don't want meat or something which is a savoury dish packed with sugar. It does not excite me. So for me, but they clearly, people's palate is sweeter. Yeah. I call it the sweetness volume. It just goes up and up. But the interesting thing is, and we've talked about this over and over, is the opposite effect when you start removing the sugar, how your sweetness volume, your tolerance for sweetness goes down, right?
Yes, it does. Your tolerance for sweetness goes down, yeah. And then I can identify it. You can actually eat something, get the sugar in that. And then if you haven't done your packet flip in advance, it actually can be more annoying to get something home, start eating it, and then packet flip. That can be hugely annoying. So I certainly recommend anybody doing that in the supermarket. Have a quick look. And if you see the traffic light system with the red, amber and greens, maybe that's a fast way of doing it and looking at things.
I know, but something can have a green.
Yeah,
and then it can. This system, the labeling systems in the world are very confusing, and there are. I have to address this as well. There's a lot of woo-woo miscommunication going on out there on the internet, and people are starting to trust things that are not necessarily founded with the most robust information and evidence. However, people are making their choices, and I think it's democratizing information, which is great. But then you do have some nonsense that people will say, sodium chloride, don't eat sodium chloride into that salt. And they don't understand the names for the food.
Or sweet.
Yeah, for the components in the food.
Yeah.
And they start like scaremongering. So we don't want to be in the category of scaremongering.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we do want to say this is it's a worldwide pandemic.
What do the World Health Organization say about the UK?
In scientific terms, I think it's sitting around the table, having a sugarless cup of coffee with the World Health Organization, maybe decaf coffee or a glass of water with them, they might just say we're appalled by what's going on. But I think we can safely say that if we have got a population, we know that the UK is consuming double the recommended amount of sugar per day that the World Health Organization recommend. So we know that over time the impact it's having on type 2 diabetes. We are seeing diseases such as type 2 diabetes in children that would, if you'd have put the time machine back to 20 years, we would have gone, what are you talking about? Children can't get type 2, they get type 1. They can't get type 2 diabetes. That's ridiculous. That's something that happens to older populations, and it's a lifestyle issue for like older population.
Yes.
No one would have expected a child to do that. Now, again, we're not blaming or putting blame on the people that are suffering from these conditions. What we're saying is there is an environment which is basically allowing the overproduction and there's an industry around the production of foods that are not there to nourish our bodies and help us. Basic foods that our grandparents would have known. Some of this stuff that people are eating now, that they're eating every day, not just occasionally, would our grandmothers have recognized that?
Definitely not. Yeah.
I mean, and I think if we could eat like our grandparents ate, a lot of us would be a lot fitter and a lot healthier. Very simple foods they're eating.
Yeah, very simple food.
Yeah. I mean, what were you eating back in the day, Luke?
Back in the day, yes.
Not that we're showing our age, but
No. Well, now I'm over 40.
What?
The thing is that I look back and actually say, yeah, we were eating perhaps a small piece of meat with a couple of veg. It was meat and 2 veg, and we did eat potato. We did have quite a lot of mashed potato back in the day, and we made our own chips. We fried our own chips.
Yeah, but then we went.
But they weren't the nicest. But home fried chips were a bit weird, and so to be honest, you didn't eat many.
I remember this.
So that's the way to actually do it. Produce inedible food, and then nobody eats it. That's a good way of doing it. Portion sizes. That was one of the things. Portion sizes were smaller in the 70s.
Yeah, they were smaller. And I remember that I saw this. I don't remember where I saw it, but they were showing like the size of a croissant. If you were, I'm saying in a Frenchy way, croissant. And when you go to a shop to buy a croissant now, compared to compared to the French, or compared to when the croissants were brought into the UK in the, whenever that was in the 80s or something like that, when you could buy it in a supermarket. And they were very small. They were like little things like this. And now they're like these supersized things.
The British version.
Well, there's 3 times the size of a French croissant. And then you're blaming the people. Because when you start eating it, frankly, you can't stop.
It's very difficult.
And you say that because you see one, you're like, that you're not thinking, oh, that is a portion for 2 people. You don't think that, do you?
No.
Like, that's mine.
If you're at a restaurant and you cut their croissant in half and only gave them half a croissant, they might look at you a bit strangely.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not really people's fault. I don't think, I think blaming the user, the experience that they're having when they're the only access, it's not like everybody's got a veg patch in the bottom of their garden and they're like, rearing their own organic sheep or whatever. They're not doing that. No. They have to go to the supermarket. And if in the supermarket, the foods that they are used to eating and recognize, the brands that they recognize are just packed full of sugar, and that's their comfort.
Yes.
Why are we blaming the user? We have to start looking at the industries as a whole and the policies from the governments that are enabling those industries to feed the people foods that are damaging their health. I don't blame the people, do you?
Absolutely not. It's not the people's fault.
It isn't. So in terms of like what we're doing and how we think we're impacting, What do you think is the thing that you feel the contribution that this podcast is making and that we're making as a whole?
Well, it's awareness, isn't it? Step one is being aware of what's a thing, because even anecdotally, I don't know what the French will make of this, but I always traditionally put my English marmalade onto my croissant. I don't know what the French would think of having marmalade on a croissant, but it's certainly quite.
They'd be okay.
Oh, they'd be okay with that. But
Speaking on behalf of French,
over that, okay, yeah. But so I think, so what do we contribute? Well, I think bringing awareness, bringing it, saying to people, look, here's a few little tips and tricks, and if we can say to people, try this, do that, make some tiny little tweaks and changes that they're easy to implement, I think that's what we bring. I think that's the value.
That is the value that we bring, and to be honest, I think for me, as with the background that I have and the work that I've done over the last 2 decades, for me, the thing that I want to is to empower people and to make them feel really nurtured and loved, and that this overwhelming task that they might feel is an overwhelming task, by helping them say, look, we're going to make a start together and we are committed to helping you on this journey. And we're going to do whatever it takes to support you on this. No judgment. We're going to love you exactly as you are right now, but we're going to help you be the best version of you. That's a very different message to the, it's your fault. You were making unhealthy food choices. That just makes, I'm sorry, but anyone else, if I hear that, I just want to go and buy the cake and the donuts and all the things just to comfort myself. But myself, I'm just going to go, do you know what? I'm just going to go and buy the things and just comfort myself.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to engage with such a negative message that is punitive.
Yes, no.
Don't tell me it's punitive.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. And I remember, and some of the supermarkets, they do 5 donuts for about £1. And that's incredible, because that means the donuts actually haven't gone up in price. You can tell I've been a sugar addict, but even for the jam donuts, haven't gone up in price that I can remember in the last 40 years. And I can dunk a jam donut in my coffee and eat all 5. That used to be quite a treat for me to eat 5 donuts in 10 minutes. So, changing away from that. And we're actually not saying, you can sometimes break away. You don't always have to. This isn't, a regime that you've got to religiously stick to.
No.
It's something that will help in terms of overall wellness.
Yeah, aggregated
gains. But, if occasionally, if you're at a party and you want a slice of gâteau, go for it.
Exactly. Because that occasional thing, as long as you
don't throw off the wax.
No, and by having a support system around you, that enables you to always come back to something. I think that the thing is when we've got the foundation there and you go, right, I'm going to do this off, that's off-piste a little bit today. I'm going to do the thing and we're going to eat that meal. I'm just going to go to this event, whatever. Because you've got a foundation that you can come back to and you know how your body feels when you're in that foundation of wellness, you go, do you know what? I'm just, and you know what you need to do to repair any small little bits that you might have done. It's not going to be catastrophic.
No.
Whereas and it's not so overwhelming. And I think that's the thing, is having that support, the community and the foundation to help you take those steps that feel overwhelming. But when you realize that it's the first step is the hardest, once you've taken that first step, and we're going to be there to support you beyond that, the journey doesn't seem so overwhelming, does it?
No, that's right. It does. It doesn't. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
Exactly. And committing as well to that wellness that you deserve, to saying, and it's not committing that I'm going to go on this diet so that I can lose this much by this time, and then I'll just go fall off the diet. Well, that's all we're saying. We don't want people to feel like they need to diet. What we want people to feel is that they have a way that an approach towards their wellness, not just food, everything, that will enable them to know how it feels inside of them to feel good.
Oh, yeah.
When you feel good, you're like, I feel really good at the moment. It's lovely to come back to that, isn't it?
It is. And that's the motivation cycle as well. And I believe that, yes, once you're in that cycle and you're starting to feel good, that's the point at which you really start making the big gains.
The big gains, and the family get involved. Everybody gets involved. People start saying, "What are you?" The thing is, the comment, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You look really well. Like, since I last saw you, and this is people that I haven't seen you for years, and then they'll see me, and I think I'm aging slightly backwards because removing the sugar, even though I'm getting older, I actually look at the photos of me in my full sugar days, and I look significantly different. Like, my skin looks different. I have a little more puffy in the face, apart from weight that fluctuates up and down a little bit. But apart from that, apart from the weight loss, which I'm not going to focus on, it's the feeling of looking and feeling well, and that people will comment and go, "You look really well. What are you doing?" And they want to hear that. When you see that, and then you go, "Oh, well, I mean, and then when they realize how easy it can be, it's like a no-brainer, isn't it?
People have done that and implemented immediately.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I think last words that you might want to say to people about kind of the challenge that is in front of them, this monumental task of really looking at improving their health, their wellness, what would you say to them about getting started?
Yeah, I would say that actually knowing what the path is, I think that's the step. Is that if you can get involved in the community with like-minded people, and we move together in the same direction, and some of the tips I would say, and that knowing where to start and how to engage in it with the community and other people that are struggling as well. And if that's something that you're motivated to do, that's the big step. If it's something that you've identified and said you want to do it, that's where I think that's my advice to anybody listening would be: get involved, reach out, and if it's something you'd like to know where to start, we can help.
Exactly. And we're so excited actually, because we've got a lot to offer people within our community. We are getting the positive interaction that we're getting and the changes that we're helping people to make are astounding. So we're really, really proud of everybody that's listening to this. And it's just taking a moment to pause and think about what the impact of overconsumption of sugar and what they can do to help themselves. But we've got stuff coming up, haven't we?
We've got some really exciting
things. So, over the next few weeks, we're going to be running a challenge to help people in that. And we're going to be posting more information. So make sure that you follow us on our social channels and Zukr Suite, and follow this. Make sure you share this podcast with all your friends and family. And we're going to be having some amazing speakers and amazing events in our challenge to really support people. It's going to be free as well. So people can get started. To the ones that are feeling really overwhelmed, they can get started, and they can see how wonderful it is just in a short period of time, how amazing it can feel to start that journey of being sugar-free.
And knowing how easy it's been for us as parents and grandparents, it has been quite an easy journey.
It has been. And so with that said, my closing words are just get started. You've got nothing to lose. And with that said, we'll love you and review. Make sure that you follow Sweet Liberation, a podcast, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Keep your eyes peeled for our social channels so that you will find out when our challenge is happening. It's happening very, very soon, and we can't wait for you to join us. It's going to be free, so everybody can join, and we're excited to be able to serve you.
Yeah, you can register, and we can send a lot of the information out about what's in the challenge too, so you can see exactly what the program is.
Exactly. So we'll be dropping all the details later on this week. Make sure that you follow us, Sweet Liberation, and Sugar-Free TV, YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we will be dropping all the information about the Sugar-Free Challenge very, very soon, so that we can best serve you and support you in this important journey. With that said, we'll love you and leave you, and we'll see you next time. Sweet Liberation. Bye for now.